Hi, I'm Kathy Lincoln. I am a BERNINA Ambassador, and I'm here to answer the question, why would you want a serger? There are many reasons. There are wonderful things you can do with a serger, besides what you expect to do with a serger. There are garments. This is just a cute little t-shirt I made my mom. She didn't like the sleeves, so I had to redraft it, so now I have a sample. But the whole thing is constructed on the serger. And you can see how nice and clean those seams are. And it's a 4-thread stitch, therefore it's very strong. The whole thing, with the exception of the top stitching, was done on the serger. Just with the 4-thread. And it handles knits beautifully. It's actually designed for knits. And so it has what's called a differential feed on the side here, and it allows you, it's this one right here. It allows you to adjust the two sets of feed dogs. There is a front set of feed dogs and a back set of feed dogs. And it's how they move to keep the fabric from rippling. Or if you want to have it ripple, like you want to gather it or get a lettuce edge, then you change it so you have an extra tool to work with this machine. There are other things, like you can finish edges on this little pillow. These little ruffles are finished with the roll hem. You can do decorative stitching. This is a flat lock, a narrow flat lock. You can do piping. This is piping that's done on the serger. I have another example of that as well. You can put zippers in with a serger. This has a zipper in it that was put in by the serger. It's really easy. And this pillow also has a zipper put in with a serger. This whole thing, this whole pillowcase, pipings, zipper, pin tucks, flat lock decorative, gathering, was all done on the serger, the whole thing. And if you don't believe me, I'll turn it inside out. Completely on the serger. Everything. You have a lot of flexibility in the serger. So if you don't do garments and you don't do home dec, well, do you quilt? You can piece straight line quilts on your serger. Upside down. And you know how everyone likes to have a really nice, neat back? Look how nice and neat this back is. It's easy, it's fun. A standard narrow 3-thread stitch will give you a perfect 1/4 inch. So, easy. And then if you are a person who likes to have everything tied up in a nice neat bundle, after you have your quilt quilted and before you put your binding on, you can then finish the edge all the way around with your serger, and your binding will go on very neatly and simply. So even if you're a quilter, you still may want and may need a serger. Now there's more fun stuff. You can take that basic 4-thread stitch and make it decorative. This is just a little tote bag that I made, and I put all the stitching on the outside. And I made it contrasting so that it would show. there are things like serger lace. This is just done by sewing over air with your decorative stitch. And actually this is just a 3-thread regular overlock stitch done with fun thread. This is Razzle. It's shiny, it's smooth, it's pretty. It makes these wonderful decorative stitches. Let's see. Got it? Yes. This is Razzle. And that flat lock. So, once you get to your machine, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to work with it? Well, the first thing is you have to thread it. And I currently have this threaded for a 4-thread overlock stitch. And to do that, I'm just going to stitch here. I have my settings. I have everything threaded. I have the extra table here on, but you do have a free arm if you need that. And you can just then sew. And you have an absolutely perfect stitch. Now say you want to do a rolled hem. How hard is it to change from a 4-thread to a 3-thread? And to change the kind of thread you're going to use. This is called soft lock, and it's the kind of thread that is used on the edges of napkins. It fills in beautifully. So I am going to change. Let me take my knee lift off. Oh, and it has a knee lift too. And I'm going to open up my goodie door, where I have everything I need to change my needle. I have the little screwdriver, and I have my needle holder, so my needle doesn't fall into my machine. So I'm going to cut the thread here, because I'm taking out the left needle. And they have it so that you you don't have to guess which needle is which. There's an L and there's an R, so you don't have to think too hard. You loosen up the screw. You have a little place to keep your needle, and then you tighten up the screw to make sure that it doesn't work its way out. So now I have to take my, let's lift up the foot, take out my thread from my left needle because it's no longer there and it's no longer needed. I am going to cut my upper looper thread, take it out. I'm going to pull all the extra threads out of the way. And now I'm going to thread my upper looper. My foot is up because you want to make sure the tension wheels are open. Oops. And then you have these marvelous tweezers to grab it and put it under the foot. Get those threads untangled. Put that on top. So now my machine is threaded for a rolled hem. Now a rolled hem is one of those things that is really wonderful. You can edge tablecloths, you can edge napkins, you can finish edge ruffles, you can do any number of things with a rolled hem. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pull back our stitch lever, which is our because it moves the stitch finger. This stitch finger is what the stitch is formed over, but when you're doing a rolled hem, you want it to roll to the back, so you're going to pull that back. You're going to leave all your settings the same, except for you're going to increase your lower loop retention. And this is all in the manuals. And there's all kinds of other good pieces of information out there on all the different settings. But this is basically, you start with your 4 thread, you take out your left needle, you leave everything the same except for the lower looper, and you're going to make that tighter. And since I want a nice finished small edge, I am going to shorten my stitch length. I need my trash bucket here. And now I'm just going to roll. And you can go fast, but I like, when I'm doing something like this, I like it to go slowly. And you can see how beautiful that is. Now you can use the rolled hem with decorative threads in there and create tassels, because you can sew over air. I'm gonna make that a little smaller. And I would just keep on going until I had enough to make a tassel. Or if you put heavier threads in, you could make a cording that you could couch down. You have all different ways of playing with this machine. Even if you're a quilter, especially if you're an art quilter, you may want to create all these wonderful little extra things that you can put onto your quilts. So, in summary, I think everyone should have a serger.